Hey guys, so I am back. I know it's been a while again. So I had a request from Nick, and that request was to review the Royal Rumble 1990. This is, keep in mind, the first time that I've seen this, and I haven't seen a lot of the content around it, so as far as anything storyline that went into this particular pay-per-view, I probably don't have a whole lot of that storyline content around it that would make this probably better. All I have is the pay-per-view in and of itself. So here is my take on this pay-per-view. Okay, we're going to jump right into it. First we had a tag team match. We had the Bushwhackers taking on the Fabulous Rougeaus. Now, I have heard of the Bushwhackers, so I was familiar kind of at least with who they were. I had not heard of the Fabulous Rougeaus. I can tell you that I was able to connect a little bit, I think, with them than with the Bushwhackers. And I feel as though I maybe could have connected with the Bushwhackers a little bit more if I had more of that storyline content and had watched more of their stuff. And unfortunately, for this particular video, I did not. So all I had was what they presented right there. And the crowd was absolutely behind them. They were. And they were, in an extent, entertaining. They certainly were. Just not something that I could necessarily, for the moment, take seriously, if you will. If that makes sense. So, the Bushwhackers would end up defeating the Fabulous Rougeaus. It was an entertaining match. They had the back and forth. There was entertaining moments in the match. It worked out okay. Next, we're going to move to the second match, which was Brutus the Barber Beefcake taking on the Genius. These two, I had heard of both of them, and I could kind of see myself connecting with both of them. This match would end up in essentially a double disqualification. I don't remember which one of them threw the ref out of the ring, but he was not in the ring, at any rate. And that was when Brutus had choked out the Genius. And at that point, he grabbed his scissors and started giving him a haircut. That was when Mr. Perfect would make his entrance and save the Genius from more damage to his hair. Excuse me. Then between the Genius and Mr. Perfect, they would end up hitting Brutus with one of the chairs. And honestly, from now until then, obviously there's a difference in what the chairs look like. And having never been actually in the ring, I don't know between now and then which one does more damage to you, if that makes sense. But it certainly looked like it hurt. Obviously, it's always going to look like it hurts. So that ended this with the double disqualification. It kind of introduced Mr. Perfect to the show. We'll move on to the next match, which was a submission match between Ronnie Garvin and Greg the Hammer Valentine. Now, both of these men were wearing like a brace on their legs. And both of them like to use a a leg lock. And so these braces were worn essentially in this match to try to help them, especially since it was a submission match, to help alleviate any pain from those leg locks. Now, once again, we see Jimmy Hart down there. He is with Greg Valentine, and eventually he is the first one that gets the brace off of Ronnie Garvin. To no avail at the end of the day, Ronnie Garvin is able to win against Greg the Hammer Valentine. At that point, both men had those braces taken off, so they were no longer going to do any help for them. I had not heard of Ronnie Garvin. I think that I want to say the name of Greg the Hammer Valentine was familiar to me. I'd heard it somewhere, but again, I had not actually watched any of the work of either of these men. And I could see myself, I guess, relating to both of them. They were more serious, if you will. Ooh, we went flying. So I enjoyed that match, I guess. Then we had one of the last other matches, the last match before the actual Royal Rumble. We had Hacksaw Jim Duggan versus the Big Boss Man. Now, I was familiar with both of these men. Now, I've not seen their actual work, but I have seen pictures of them, so I knew who they were. So I had a feeling this was going to be an entertaining match, and it was. Typical in heel fashion, obviously, Big Boss Man playing that heel role ended up losing via disqualification because he used his nightstick. I don't know. Okay, so I can't say that I don't know how I feel about Duggan using the 2x4 after the match, because I think to some extent he had to do that because Big Boss Man was not going to accept that he lost the match. So, in a defense mechanism, he used that 2x4. So I do get that. And I'm not necessarily upset about that. I also can't say that I'm surprised necessarily by that outcome, because that does, I guess, make sense. And probably moves whatever storyline the two of them had going on at the time forward. Last but not least, we will talk about the 30-man Royal Rumble. Getting right down to brass tacks, Hulk Hogan ended up as the winner of the Royal Rumble that year, with the last four being him, Mr. Perfect, Rick Rude, and Hercules. Now, some of these names from this match I did recognize. I can't say that I recognize necessarily all of them. My take on this is, at the time, well, I'm not a super big fan of Hulk Hogan. Don't get mad at me. I feel like that was possibly the right call, though, for the time. You had some other really great names that were involved in it. Mr. Perfect being the second to last and being the last one that was eliminated, which makes sense, right? He was also a very big name at that time, and also one of those that would have been a big money maker for the company at that time, so makes sense that they would want to showcase him. And they showcased Many of them, actually. Probably the moment that sticks out for me watching this was probably the brief moment when Hulk Hogan and the Ultimate Warrior stare eye to eye at each other, and it would have been interesting to have seen, I think, a little bit more of that. But not to be, and that's okay. He ended up getting eliminated and was not in the Final Four, and that's okay. They had that moment. I think that's really all that I can necessarily say about that. The other interesting thing for me, as someone that has started watching wrestling later, and getting to kind of see somewhat a different side of Shawn Michaels in particular. The Shawn Michaels that I saw in this particular Royal Rumble match is not the ones that I have come to really remember, so that was kind of interesting to see him before that time when things, I think, really took off for him. Because I feel like just looking at kind of the way that he entered, kind of the way that he looked at that time, I get the feeling that this was before that time when things really took off for him. So that was kind of interesting from my perspective there. So that is what I have for you. Feel free to leave any comments, your takes from this. Really kind of interested to see what other people's takes are, because many have maybe even seen some of the background between some of these people, so they maybe have some more details for me. So it'd be interesting to see those, and we will talk to you guys later.